Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron. With me as always is Zach. How's it going?
Good. It's been a while, but
a little bit of time.
We have returnaled.
Ah, yes. We have convened for a very important reason. One of us has a PlayStation 5.
And I've been waiting to make that joke. I think everybody on the internet has made that joke about Returnal. But yeah, I got a PS5 just yesterday as we're recording this.
Where'd you get it from? Best Buy or what was the?
No.
I want to know everything. Like, what was your journey?
You want to know the strategy? It's taken months. It's not easy to get. So, a friend of the show, Ryan, who did our intro and outro music, he got a PS5 months ago, and so I was like, "Well, how did you do this?" And he goes, he sent me some links. You have to follow like these Twitter accounts, and there was one. There was one from Telegram. If you use that chat app, that was the one that actually ended up working. But for months they'll be like, "Here's a drop, go," and so you just like click on it and you try to be as quick as possible. And they'll every time like there's a restock for Best Buy or Target or Walmart or GameStop, they'll be like, here they are. And you just try to hope you're fast enough. And I've tried many times, and it hasn't worked, obviously. Best Buy does a thing where they will let you get in, and then you have to like wait for a while, and then you can add it to your cart, and it'll be like, check out, and they'll say, there's no, like, we're not shipping to any Best Buys within like 500 miles of you. So it's like, well, then why did you let me wait and add this to my cart? Like, and so that happened to me several times. And otherwise, it's been like trying to get through on Walmart and Target and just them being out of stock by the time I get there. Same with Amazon. The one that actually ended up working was directly through Sony.
Really?
And I tried through them as well several times, and they do a thing where they will have you wait in some sort of queue, and then like after, I don't know, like 20-30 minutes of waiting, they'll be like, okay, you're in, go shop for it, add it to your cart, do whatever you got to do. And that has failed several times in the past as well. It finally worked to the point where I was like, I almost didn't believe it. I almost didn't trust it. I was like, nah, this is gonna fail somehow still. And it actually was like, once it said it was purchased, I was like, do I celebrate? Is this real? But no, it finally did work, and they were super fast with shipping. Like, it was almost like the next day. It was like,
wow,
we're delivering. And so yeah, I got it finally. It's very exciting. The controller is awesome. You get access to the game Astro's Playroom, which is surprisingly more game than I thought it was going to be. It's basically a tech demo for what the new controller can do, and it's sort of a celebration of PlayStation's history. But there's like some meat on the bone. Like, there's stuff to play, like, which is great if that's the only thing you end up getting. If you haven't picked up a game yet, you have something to play. But yeah, it's very impressive as a tech demo for what the controller can do. Like, you remember those videos of like the Switch Joy-Cons, and it's like when you tilt it, it feels like, there's
like
marble.
a glass with ice cubes in it.
Yeah, a glass with ice cubes, or like a marble rolling around. Like, this is like that, but times 10.
Tell me about those triggers.
The adaptive triggers are really cool. Of course, Astro's Playroom really sells you on those, because how they can kind of make it feel like you're pulling in a spring, and there's like some tension there to how far you pull them down. And then Returnal does an interesting thing with them as well. We can maybe talk more about that game in a little bit, but you pull it down partially and it will like aim, if you're doing the left trigger. And then if you pull it down all the way, that will do like a secondary fire mode for your weapons.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, it is really interesting. I mean, Astro's Playroom is the one that really takes advantage of it in unique ways, because like some of it is like it's impressive, because you're like, normally triggers, you just pull them in and it's there's maybe some variance on how far you pull down the trigger, or if it's sort of like the GameCube controller, like there is like some variance and then there's like a click at the end. So that like using the triggers in different ways has been like a thing for a long time now, but like nothing has really compared to what they're doing with this controller.
I have more questions, but maybe we should get into a little bit of news before we get into Returnal, because I have a ton of questions about that too.
Okay. We can talk about Biomutant. I don't know if you're anticipating this game, but it is coming out in like at the end of the month.
I had not really been following it, but I watched right before we started recording. I watched a little gameplay demo of it they released in 4K, and it seems very cool.
Yeah, I have been sort of following the game off and on. They've been releasing little like snippets, little trailers here and there as they've built up to release, and you basically play. I was joking about it with you before we started recording, a version of Rocket Raccoon that is fully customizable, and you can make like your own version of that character. And then the world's very vibrant. I saw somebody compare it to, oh gosh, what was that game that was like a version of Odyssey to the West? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Enslaved?
Yeah, Enslaved, which, that was very, like, green, vibrant world. Looked kind of like that, but, like, with sort of Breath of the Wild style traversal.
Yes. Yeah, you even have, like, a little hang glider.
Yeah, and combat seems pretty interesting as well. You have, like, different combos and different weapon types, and, of course, it depends on what class you play as. I don't know a ton about the game, but I kind of don't want to know more about it. I just want to like get into it and sort of discover it as I go. But yeah, it's one of those games that I don't think has a like next gen release. I think it is like you're gonna play the PS4 version on PS5, or there's obviously PC as well.
Yeah, it's something that I might actually check out, having watched the trailer for it now, because I have been wanting to play a new like Breath of the Wild type game. I never really got into that, whatever that Ubisoft one was, even though it came out for Switch. What was that called? It was out for Stadia too.
Yeah, what was that?
It kind of came
Immortals.
And went. Yes.
That game.
That one did not grab me for some reason, and we are laying in wait. It's imminent, I feel, that we're going to hear more news about Breath of the Wild 2 this year.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like chomping at the bit for anything similar to that.
But I mean, E3 is like a month away at this point, like less than a month away.
I am eager for whatever that turns out to be, and you can expect to see coverage from us. I'm very excited to cover whatever happens. Hopefully there will be cool stuff to see. I think this is the year that Bethesda's just like, guess what? Here is 40 minutes on Starfield.
Yeah, I really hope that ends up being the case. Like, we've heard rumors that Starfield might actually come out later this year. We were also kind of talking about it a little bit before the show, where like releases for later this year is just sort of a big cloud of who knows at this point. And so I think there's a lot hanging on E3 in terms of like release dates, and what they're gonna announce is actually coming out later this year.
Yeah, I mean, the coronavirus did push so many things back, but I feel I am confident in saying that Starfield will have some sort of large, expanded, like this is the game type of like, let's walk around and do a mission and here are all the systems type video, as well as we will at least see gameplay footage of Breath of the Wild 2 this year.
Really? You're calling it? You're putting it out there?
I believe so. I think those are my two predictions for 2021? Yeah, for 2021.
And do you think both of those will come out this year, or are those
No.
like next year
No.
releases?
Both of those will come out in 2022. Maybe Breath of the Wild 2 will come out because this is the 25th anniversary of Zelda. Maybe that will come out towards the very, very end of the year, but I feel like they're not going to make it.
I think Bethesda, if they are going to do like an in-depth, like here's the gameplay and how everything works, they launch that game that year.
You might be right. Yeah, because they did that with Fallout 4. They were basically just like, here is Fallout 4. Also, like 2 months from now, it's coming out.
Yeah. They did that for sure with Fallout 4. And I want to say there was another time they did that as well, but I can't remember specifically which game it was for. But I hope that game actually comes out later this year, just because like I'm thinking about the fall and I'm like, what like for sure do we know is dropping, ahead of the holiday season? And I can't think of anything. Like Deathloop is in September, but I can't think of anything coming out after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something queued up for that, like, first and second week in November, because there's always something there, but we just have no idea. I mean, hopefully it'll get revealed at E3 in a couple of weeks.
I mean, we can assume stuff like Call of Duty and maybe, like, a Battlefield game, but, like, nothing else is, like, for sure slated for that time frame. So I expect E3 will get some of that. Like, some of that will be, like, laid out more concretely than it is right now. So looking forward to that at least, I guess. But how do you feel about Bloodborne?
I watched my brother play a good portion of it. I've not really done a Soulsborne type game, but the aesthetic of Bloodborne is very cool, and I enjoyed watching him play it. And then I read the plot to it on like Wikipedia or something, and it seemed insane. So I guess what I'm saying is it would probably make a crazy TV show.
Yeah. And it is going to be a TV show, apparently. HBO is developing a series based on the Bloodborne game. And, I mean, do you think this is sort of a prelude to Bloodborne 2?
I don't know. I mean, people have wanted it. They thought that, because there was that one E3 where they only showed like 5 seconds of footage, and it was like a chain racking on like a wooden thing, and it was like from Software, and we were like, oh my god, it's got to be Bloodborne 2, and it turned out it was Sekiro.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know how much like Japan is interested in like what's in the zeitgeist of America.
True.
I could definitely see this leading to like more merchandising, but I don't know if From Software is going to be like, oh my god, everybody in America loves this, we got to make Bloodborne 2.
I mean, of all the Soulsborne games, like Bloodborne is continually the one that's like propped up as like, people talk about as if it's like the holy grail of those games.
Yeah.
Even like compared to something like Sekiro that I think was also very popular, but like, or, Demon Souls or something like that. Like Bloodborne is always the one that everyone's like, if you're going to check out one of these games, make it that one. So
I will probably watch this, whatever it turns out to be. Because I like this. I mean, if they stick to the story of the game, who's to say they will? But I could see that being crazy with a bunch of twists and turns.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just exciting that somebody as big as like HBO is sort of going out on that limb and saying like video games is sort of the next fertile ground for series and franchises for like movies and TV shows. Like they did Mortal Kombat, and they're like Sony obviously has like a bunch of series that they want to do. They want to make into movies and TV shows. Like they got a Last of Us series coming.
Yes.
There's an Uncharted movie in the works. Like they're doing a lot with that. And I know, like, I think, isn't there a Super Mario Brothers movie? That's like Nintendo, but like video game adaptations are like becoming a thing finally.
Should we talk about the Mortal Kombat movie briefly?
Yeah, we can get into that.
We both were not super into it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat guy, so like, who's to say whether it did a great job of like existing in that universe? Like, I know they made changes to it, obviously, and they kind of did their own thing in terms of like, you have a mark on you, and that's what determines.
I was cool with that.
I don't know if that's a thing that would like really turn off like longtime fans of the series, or if they're just like, this is its own thing, it's fine. But yeah,
I think it was a bold and incorrect move to make the main character some random guy with a random power that has never existed in the Mortal Kombat universe.
Instead of going with an established character.
Yeah, like, I was like, once I realized that everyone was going to get like a power, I forget what they called it. But I was like, that's cool. I'm into them introducing like, oh, it doesn't make any sense that Jax's power is that the robot arms he just got become bigger robot arms. Right. But I'm into that. Like, it's dumb. It's fun. I wonder what the main character's power is going to be. I wonder who he is going to be revealed to be. What a fun reveal it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then it's just that he like gets a weird shirt that gets on his, that like sometimes can absorb energy, but sometimes it can't, it seems like. Because initially when he's fighting Goro, Goro's like punching him a bunch and it's like charging up, and then he like can emit it. But then when he's fighting Sub-Zero,
it doesn't happen.
That does not happen. yeah, at all.
It was unclear to me what exactly was going on with that. It's like, you get an armored shirt and these like police batons, and that's his power, I guess. Which I don't.
Not great. And also not into him having a family for no reason. Just like, there's a lot of things that didn't need to exist in that movie. The effects were really cool and the fighting was really cool, but
anytime Scorpion shows up, like, the fighting was really cool.
That was also great. Did you know who Raiden was?
Yeah, he looked familiar.
He looked familiar to me too, but I was like, oh, he's just some random guy. That's Asano Tadanobu.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, he looks unrecognizable to me.
That's crazy to me.
That's Ichi the Killer. Well, not Ichi the Killer, but the guy from Ichi the Killer.
I need to go back and look at that now. Really?
It blew my mind when I read that. Because I was like, oh, I wonder who all these characters are played by. They're all no names. And I looked, and Raiden is played by Asano Tadanobu, and I was like, that is insane.
The thing that stood out to me in terms of like what was really weird about it was like, so many of the situations that were happening in the movie were like that part in Back to the Future where Marty McFly is like, man, I need to go back early and warn Doc that these guys are going to come and shoot him. What do I do? Oh, I have a time machine. I'll go back 10 minutes early. And you're like, no, go back like an hour earlier so that you have plenty of time, so this won't be an issue. That happens like every scene in this movie where you're like, oh, this tournament's happening. We're tracking down all the people. But it's like the last second where why wouldn't you have done this like years ago so that you could be training these people and be ready for it? Why is it like suddenly a thing? And then you've got like, I'm bad with character names, but the guy that can transport or teleport people,
Raiden.
Why wouldn't you immediately just be like, I'm going to transport you one by one, and we're just going to gang up on you and destroy you? Like, yeah. I don't know. The timing of all of this stuff. And also, like, spoilers-ish, I guess, for the...
No one cares.
Scorpion... just out of nowhere is like, I'm back to the real world, baby. And he, like, why wouldn't you have, you've picked a weird moment. I mean, I guess it like, out of nowhere, he just shows up again. It's just like, this was not exactly established. Like, if you do like a 1, 2, 3 sort of thing where you're like, oh, he's trying to come back. Or we've like established that this is a thing that can happen, and then suddenly it happens. There's like a payoff there at least, but like to just sort of, they were going for like a blindside moment where you could be like, where fans could like sort of cheer and be like, oh yeah. But like from a story perspective, that's just bad writing.
I have to agree. Like, it could have used a big rewrite, I have to say. Like, get rid of the family, make Cole like a regular. There's so many. Like, at this point, there's so many Mortal Kombat characters to choose from.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with there not being like a tournament per se. That's fine. Like, I feel like this is
there
this
is
the type
a
of movie.
tournament, but they're like, oh, this is going to be a thing, and then it's just not a thing by the end of the movie, and you're like, well, tune in next time.
This is the type of movie that is very frustrating because it has the bones of a movie that could work.
Yeah.
They have just made a lot of incorrect decisions that could be corrected. Like, if someone had like 2 days with the script and just been like, these are the things we need to change, you could have kept basically all the same actors and just like changed some effects, and it could have been something where people are like, this is great, we were excited for the next one. But they just like, the script was bad.
It's one of those things where they bit off more than they could chew with one movie. Like,
Yeah.
they have, obviously there's a ton of characters to that franchise, and so they're trying to do a lot of stuff, and they're just trying to do maybe too much at once, where like it's sort of an origin movie for this new character that nobody knows about, and it's also like a Marvel style team up movie. And as we learned from the Justice League movies, you can't just like slam all of that together in one movie. It just doesn't work. It becomes bloated and all over the place. And that just kind of was how this movie felt to me.
Do you think if Mario does well, there's any universe where they do a Super Smash Brothers movie? Where one by one,
but
they do like a Kirby movie and a Star Fox movie, and at the end you start seeing like a mysterious figure. There's post-credit scenes, and eventually they all get together and fight an insane like Mr. Hands or whatever it's called, Dr. Hands.
That would be amazing. I really, really want that. I feel like they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the rights that you would have to go through to like make something like that happen. I mean, they did it for the games, I guess, but like,
the Pokemon movie, the Detective Pikachu movie came out and was a mild success. So like, we've got the Pikachu movie, Mario's being made. We have a Sonic movie. Sonic is the one that maybe won't. It's not technically like Pokemon or Nintendo, but I feel like there's a universe where there's some sort of like collaboration. Like, if the Mario movie does really well and is really good, we'll definitely see more Mario movies.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised they haven't done like a Detective Pikachu 2, or that hasn't been like announced. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I would love it. I don't know that it will ever happen. That's maybe the obvious thing. Like, people who are like fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who are also like big Nintendo fans and like fans of Super Smash Brothers, I feel like it's crossed everyone's mind. Be like, please make a Marvel style universe for all these Nintendo characters.
Now, speaking of things that are being released, at some point in the future, this is something that might happen at E3, we're going to get more information and more maybe gameplay footage of the new Final Fantasy game. That crazy one we saw like a cinematic trailer for, where it seemed like there were like different kingdoms that had different summons. Remember that? I think it's Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, they've gone back to medieval times.
Now, I was sitting on my couch yesterday, and all of a sudden on Twitter I saw, oh, it's Final Fantasy Fest or whatever. Here's a new trailer for the game. I did not super read like a subheading or whatever, and I was like, oh man, this is like footage from the new Final Fantasy game. This is going to be great. And I watched this trailer, and I found it to be inscrutable. It's just insane. And I guess what it actually is a trailer for Final Fantasy 15 Endwalker, which is it's like an MMO. But this game seems insane. I don't know how you play it. Like, I assume it's an RPG, but this cinematic trailer, there's somebody on the moon at one point.
What? I need to see this now.
It seems like a crazy game. There's like cat people. It was not Final Fantasy, the next one, unfortunately.
Oh, it's an expansion for
it was
the MMO.
An MMO. Yeah. But I thought I would bring that to your attention. If you're browsing the internet and you see like new Final Fantasy trailer, it is not for the new one. It is for whatever this is.
Yeah, I'm skipping through it. I vaguely recall seeing this during some.
I did not know this was a game. 15 was the one where you were like guys in cars, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this is just an MMO version of that?
No.
Or is this a DLC? This is an MMO, isn't it?
Well, yeah, so 14 is the MMO. 15 was the one where you're dudes in cars, and then...
Oh, this is 14. I don't know my Roman numerals.
Yeah, and then the next one, the medieval one that is supposedly coming to next-gen consoles, is 16. So yeah, this is just a trailer for the latest expansion for the MMO. But yeah, it is insane that like suddenly you're just on the moon. What's happening in this trailer?
I don't know what's going on with this.
I mean, story. I've never played the MMO, so I could not say if that makes sense to people or if that's just off the wall in something
else I briefly wanted to touch on before we get into PS5 news. Although this is, I guess, PS5 related. They released some new information about the next version of PSVR, and it seems like it's going to be really cool. It's going to be 4K resolution per eye, like 2000 by 2000 per eye. The controllers look great. They're not those weird wands anymore. Like, this is going to be a viable VR solution for a lot of people. Like, the controllers have parity with the PC versions of VR. So, like, I don't know. It's pretty exciting. Like, VR might be the thing that gets me to finally pull the trigger on a PlayStation 5. I do want one, but I just can't, like, justify buying one just yet.
Yeah, I mean, right now, aside from Returnal, there's not really anything that's like buy the system now because you can only play this right now. So, but like in a month or two is when the next like Final Fantasy thing is happening. That
yes.
Interguard or whatever that's called.
I am interested in that, and whenever the full sequel for Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out, that will be something that makes me buy a PlayStation 5. But for now, like VR and the PS5 are two things that I am interested in and I'd like to get my hands on, but I just cannot, I haven't done it yet. And the fact that they're combining into something that might be pretty good on both ends is very exciting to me.
Yeah, this definitely does look like an actual like VR thing, whereas the last one was just like, oh, just we're trying to make use of those old Move controllers that we sold.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, I mean, that's exciting. I'm not the biggest fan of VR because it usually makes me sick, but
you just have to get your legs. You have to do it and fight through it, and then eventually it stops making you sick. It's like in it's like when you're on a boat and you get seasick. Eventually you're just not seasick anymore. You just have to fight through it.
They have those relief bands. I wonder if that would work.
Yeah.
Just wear a relief band every time you play VR. Also, like, I know there are some like cool games out for PlayStation VR, but I'm not sure what the killer app is for it just yet.
I don't think that there is one.
I think there might be eventually, but maybe not yet.
Definitely on PC, the killer app is like that Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah,
I don't have VR, but I watched someone play through all of that, and it seemed very fun and cool. But there is not a metaverse yet. There is not like a persistent world, which is what I really wanted from VR.
They haven't made the Oasis yet.
On this podcast. Yeah, but laying in wait. I guess maybe Roblox is kind of like that, but it doesn't. I don't think that it has VR integration yet. And I also don't super like the aesthetic of Roblox. I'm more of a Minecraft.
I've only heard about that game. I really don't even know what it is.
It seems crazy, but I don't think that it is. I don't know. I mean, it's. I always hear about it, and it does seem really crazy because like you can build your own games, and it teaches you how to do that. But I don't know. For some reason I just can't get past how dumb the character models look. Well, should we get into? We have a lot of things to be playing and watching this week.
We do. So I've played a bunch of games since we last talked. Again, it's been a long time, so there's a lot of stuff that like I played, weeks and weeks ago. So I may not have as strong thoughts on today as I did back then. But quickly I'll throw out Narita Boy, Genesis Noir, Before Your Eyes, and the Chivalry 2 beta because I did a video where I sort of briefly addressed those games. So you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch that. These are shorter games. I mean, Chivalry 2 is like a medieval multiplayer game that I played the beta for. The full game is coming out in June. It's actually really fun. I watched somebody stream some of it, and this is like, I don't know if you remember that Mortal Game and the first Chivalry.
Oh yeah.
I remember like that was like those both had like their huge moment in the sun, like online there for a while. And I remember seeing that and thinking that could probably be fun, but I just never played them. And then, so I finally jumped in on this one because it looked pretty cool. And I played the beta and I was like, this is actually a lot of fun. It's, I also played, what was that game where you play like samurai and Vikings and samurai?
Oh yeah, that was the Ubisoft one.
Yeah, I forget the name of that.
They did a lot of DLC for that one.
Oh, it was For Honor, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That game was fun. I enjoyed playing it, but there was like, once it came out that there was like pay to win elements, I was like, whatever, I'm done. Yeah. But yeah, they supported that game for a long time. People are probably still playing it, but so like medieval melee combat is like a thing that occasionally I'll get into. And so yeah, playing this, it was a lot of fun. I think I will enjoy like dipping into that game now and then once it actually comes out. And yeah, Genesis Noir is the one that I would maybe highlight. Just look it up. Just see the aesthetic of that game. It's pretty insane. It is probably the one that I liked the most out of all of those games. And then, yeah, just go watch my video for impressions on the others. You played some Narita Boy.
No, not yet. I bought it, but I have not played it yet. I'm excited to. I just, I've not really played a lot of games because I've been very busy recently. My parents were in town, and then there was a weekend where I was on call this weekend, and then a couple weekends ago I was also. It just has lined up where every weekend I don't have any time, and during the week I usually just like watch stuff when I get home from work. But I have been itching to play more stuff. I just have not had time.
Narita Boy, I like the aesthetic of that game, but I don't necessarily.
I am very excited to play that.
I don't necessarily love the gameplay of it, but it might be more up your alley than it is mine. So
I will say I got the free Stadia game this month or week or however they parse them out of that Star Wars game that came out a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, I added that to my library as well.
And I've not played that, but that's something I think I could really like if I just like set it on like max easy and just like blow through that. I feel like I would enjoy that.
Yeah, I started it back when it initially came out because it was at the time I was subscribed to Origin Access Premier, so I could just download every game that came out. And yeah, I mean, it had some cool stuff going on. I don't remember why I stopped playing it, but I didn't make it terribly far into it. So it might be worth jumping back in now that it's like a thing I can play for free on Stadia. I did finish Outriders. So finished is maybe too strong a word. I completed the story and saw credits roll, but there is like post-game stuff where it's like I forget what they call them. They're like expeditions or something. There's like more stuff to do after that, sort of in-game style activities. I did one thing, and it's sort of like time trial based almost, but you're building up to something crazy is happening. I like that game. I like the combat of it. I like how like fast and fluid the combat is. The shooting feels good. All the crazy abilities that you have. I was not super into the story, and I think aesthetically it's a little bit underwhelming. But I think there's a lot of fun to be had with that game. It's just not like I don't anticipate it standing out in my memory when at the end of the year when I'm looking back on like the best games of the year. So it's I'm somewhat mixed on it, but I did enjoy playing the game.
I have some hot off the presses news, Zach.
Okay.
Sometimes Twitter will just like send me a notification like, hey, here's some news. I have not turned it off yet, but I'm going to. But that happened just now. And it's the notification I got is Bethesda's Starfield is confirmed exclusive for Xbox and PC. Won't release for PS5.
Whoa. That's big news.
That's big news.
I did not expect the exclusivity of like Bethesda stuff to kick in quite so soon. Like I was sure Starfield would be out on PlayStation as well. That's crazy.
Who knows? I mean, this is just something that is trending on Twitter right now. So I don't know if that's true. It's that VGC.com. So, but
I mean, not a big deal crazy. For me. I'll just download it on Steam. Like it's whatever. But
yeah,
for people who bought into PlayStation 5 because they play games on console, like I don't know,
a bummer for them.
Yeah, losing out on Bethesda stuff is a big deal because they have a lot of
best
great
to play
franchises.
it on. I feel like it's meant to be played on PC though.
Yeah, well,
or Stadia.
Yeah, that's another question is because will it come? No, it won't. I was gonna say. Are they going to try to make more stuff for Switch? Because Nintendo and Bethesda were kind of buddy-buddy there for a while. And now
I don't know.
Microsoft's a little bit buddy-buddy with them as well. But because they do like the streaming thing, you know, like on Nintendo Switch, like you can stream some games.
They never really went anywhere. It definitely happened with like Control was a big one.
Control was one. I think Hitman was there as well.
Yeah.
I know that's a thing they're sort of building into, and I wonder like with xCloud, xCloud's not quite where Stadia is at in terms of like quality and like just availability, but I keep wondering when that's going to sort of take shape, and will it be sort of a thing that is available on Switch? Because I do find that appealing. And maybe that's a way to get something like Starfield on Switch.
Yeah,
so
that could be.
So, I mean, it's also possible that that's an avenue towards being able to play those games if you're someone who does not have a gaming PC. So, I mean, worth considering, I guess. But
anyway, continue on. This is a shocking revelation that is possibly true, possibly not.
Yeah, we'll find out in less than a month, I'm sure, once E3 starts going. But for now, I'll just talk a little bit about Loop Hero because I've been playing off and on Loop Hero. I love that game, and I
have hit a wall in that game.
Oh, really?
I cannot beat the second boss.
I just made it to that second boss. Like I made it through. So it's been a little bit of time since I've played it because I've been playing other stuff. But I made it through the first boss, and I've been working on that second area. But I've been sort of too afraid to like let the second boss come because I don't think I'm quite ready for it. I'm also finding that I need to switch up, like, because I really relied on like the warrior class, and I'm thinking maybe necromancer's the way to go. If you just like attack speed up like crazy with that, you can sort of outpace the rate at which the enemies are taking down your summoned enemies or whatever. But no, the cool thing I wanted to highlight about it was something we talked about, and I think you're right, it is like a Steam thing, where so I wanted to be able to take Loop Hero with me. This was over Easter. I was hanging out with family, and I downloaded Loop Hero on my MacBook. There's not a lot of games that you can download through Steam on Mac. Most are PC exclusive, but Loop Hero was one of them. And I wanted to keep playing that game, so I was like, whatever, I'll just download it and play some Loop Heroes, just start a new save file. And it turns out that my save file was like backed up in the cloud, tied to my Steam account, and I was able to continue where I left off. And that was like really cool. Like really a cool way to sort of take PC games mobile with you. Since this game is also not out on Switch for some reason. But yeah, so that was a cool thing I found out, that you can play Loop Hero on PC and then take it with you mobile. So that was a fun thing I learned. What else do I have on here? Let's talk about
Returnal.
I was going to briefly mention Legend of Keepers, because that's a game that I've been playing a lot before we really get into like the PS5 stuff. Legend of Keepers, I am kind of obsessed with this game. I started playing it on Stadia, but it is on Steam, and I believe it's on Switch, or it's coming to Switch. But it's how do you describe this game? I guess I did a video. It's up on YouTube, so check that out.
Yes.
You're kind of you play a dungeon master. There are 3 different characters to play as, and they each have their own series of missions to get through. And the game plays out over like several weeks. And each week there's like a different event to do. And that may be leveling up your monsters. So as a dungeon master, you have employees, which are like monsters that you use to defend your gold, because heroes and adventurers keep coming into your dungeon and trying to take your gold. And so they're like, when they do come in, like during a defense phase, you've got several rooms lined up, and maybe one room is like you'll put a trap down. And then the next room is like where you can put some monsters, and it's very like sort of old school RPG, like 3v3 turn-based battles. And you have to you'll place a monster in the front line, the back line, and in the middle. And they, of course, have all these different types of abilities, and like the character designs and all the different attacks and abilities are really, really cool. And so I'm addicted to that style of like turn-based combat as much as I am just everything else going on in the game. And I do believe there is an endless mode where you can just like do a lot of battles, I assume. I haven't unlocked it yet, so I haven't been able to play it. But yeah, there's kind of a lot going on in the game, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I just can't seem to get enough of it. I gifted it to you for your birthday because I want you to be able to play it, because it seems like nobody's talking about the game for some reason, and I want more people to be playing it because I think it's great.
I'm excited to give it a try. Yeah, I actually might play some of it today after I get done with a little bit of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those games where like you can just sort of advance through a couple of weeks and then just like exit and leave. So you can play for like 5 minutes, or you can play for 5 hours, and it's very easy to sort of jump in and out of. So yeah, it's been the game that I am continually like at the end of the day, I need to unwind or whatever, and I want to play something, and I'll be like, should I play this game where I need to like really sort of sit and play for like an hour or two, or should I just like, I can jump into Legend of Keepers and get some stuff done real quick and then just like go to bed. And so I just continually end up going back into Legend of Keepers when I should be playing other things. But yeah, we can get into Returnal. Yes. Talk about some PS5 stuff.
How are those load times?
Very fast. There's not a lot of loading, I don't think. Not that I can recall, except for...
Now, did you downloaded this game, right?
No, I picked it up. I picked up a physical copy at the store. Maybe that's something we should talk about at some point. I have gotten into more and more as I get older. I'm getting more into like physical copies of things. Like I know that you have always been like an advocate for like a physical copy of games, and I had sort of embraced
Gotta get that map.
Embraced the digital future. But no, I'm starting to reverse myself on that, and I'm getting more into physical copies of things and like collecting stuff. But But anyway, yeah, I went and picked up a physical copy of Returnal. There is not a map. It doesn't come with anything in the box, which is
That's
a shame.
too bad.
It's a shame that they went away from like manuals and stuff actually coming in the box with the game. But yeah, so when you die, I guess there is sort of an animation that, because it is a roguelike. It is a roguelike. So when you die, you start over. And so there is that like animation, but that I don't know if you'd consider that a load screen. I guess maybe it is sort of hiding a load screen, but it's an interesting story. I'm not super far into it, but like it's very intriguing. Like the aesthetic is kind of the art style of that Prometheus movie mixed with Live, Die, Repeat, that Tom Cruise sci-fi movie.
Ooh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and so like the creatures are like those tentacly like things from the Live, Die, Repeat, but like you feel kind of like you're exploring this sort of gross alien place, sort of like in Prometheus. But yeah, the combat so far has been pretty fast and fluid. You have like a dash button and a jump button, and so I guess we should say Housemarque is the developer of the game, and I loved Nex Machina. If you remember, we actually did.
Yes, that was one of our first videos.
Yeah, it was an early video of ours. We did a blind spotting episode where I introduced you to Nex Machina. And it's the creatures in that were a little bit tentacly as well, and it was sort of a top-down bullet hell twin stick shooter with like crazy particle effects. And this Returnal feels like just like a third-person version of that almost, without like it has some of the bullet hell elements. It's not a twin stick shooter, obviously, but. Mm-hmm. I remember there was a part of the Nex Machina game where it would randomly, depending on where you were at in the level, the camera would kind of shift behind you, and it was almost like a third person game. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it would be cool if there was like a full version of this. Like if there was a game that was like this game, but like in third person instead of like top down twin stick shooter. And lo and behold, they made it in Returnal. But, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not very far. I just got my PS5 last night as we're recording this, so I played for maybe a couple hours last night, and I want to play more of it. It's doing some interesting things with the new controller, not necessarily on the level of like Astro's Playroom, but the like half trigger pulls that we talked a little bit about at the beginning of the show. It's doing some stuff with that. There is sort of an active reload system as well, sort of Gears of War style, but it's not exactly like that, but it's similar. And then, just sort of exploring the world and like finding stuff. And people have been comparing it to Hades a little bit in that.
Oh, really?
You're sort of advancing the story a little bit each time. So even if you die and you don't make it super far, you are sort of advancing things a little bit. And you're also kind of getting some stuff that does carry over a little bit from run to run. So in Hades, of course, every time you go back to like the hub world or whatever, the story advances a little bit, right? You have these different character interactions. Returnal, somewhat similarly, again, this is based on what I've heard because I'm not super far into the game. As you continue to get further into the game and you keep dying and starting over again, some of the story elements advance as well. And so you kind of are happening across other things that sort of give you more insight into the character and the story being told and sort of what's going on with that world. So yeah, it's very intriguing, and I really want to play more to figure out more of what's going on there. The particle effects in the game are very cool. and the sound
Are you
design.
playing on 4K display?
Yeah, I've got a 4K TV, so I'm playing on that, and it looks great. It is one of the games that, I mean, obviously it's a PS5 exclusive. I assume it might come to PC at some point, maybe. I know Nex Machina did come out on PC, like you can play that on Steam, but who knows if and when that'll happen. But it looks great. I don't know. People are talking about like what's the game that's like the true like, oh, this is next gen. Like it might be this one. It might be that Ratchet and Clank game.
I bet it's going to be that Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah, when they're like, the next gen is here finally.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that one, but this is not far off. It does look great, but it also is the environments are not like big enough and like grand enough to be like, ooh, this looks like something that could only be on next gen. So,
well, that was our first review of a PS5 game.
Yeah, I am very excited that next gen is finally available to me. And it has sort of like turned a corner in my brain a little bit, because before I was like, well, I'm getting everything on PC, because like I did not spend a lot of time with my PS4 over the last like probably 6 months to a year, just because I've been playing a lot of stuff on PC or Switch. And
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, that's true. Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy Remake I played on PS4. Actually, I forgot to mention this. I've been playing Nier Replicant on PS4. That's a remake of an Xbox 360 PS3 era game. I don't know if you played the Nier games at all, but Nier...
I always wanted to play that Automata one, but I never did.
I started that one, and I don't remember why, but I got sidetracked and never got back to it. But I liked that game, what I did play of it. And the interesting thing about those games is that when you complete one playthrough of the game, you haven't completed the game. Like, you make multiple playthroughs of them. And when I say multiple playthroughs, it's more like you're kind of starting at a different point in the game. And so, like, subsequent playthroughs don't take as long as the first one. So they're more like, you know, a handful of hours rather than like the 20 hours it took you to get through it the first time. And, but it's my understanding that with Nier Replicant, like the second time you go through it, is it like drastically reframes like your knowledge of like the events of your first playthrough. And
really?
Like the next like 2 or 3 times you get through those subsequent playthroughs, the endings are different. And so it sort of is intriguing to me to figure out like what that means and like how that plays out. And like there are a lot of people that really praise these games for their story, and so I really can't wait to like find out what's going on there and, you know, what all of that means, because you hear it, but it's like you don't have a context for it yet. So I want to know how subsequent playthroughs work with these games and how it changes your understanding of the story. So I'm playing through this game more out of curiosity than necessarily wanting to continue playing through it, because I think the game design feels very last gen, and like there's a ton of side quests, and all of them are like, go here and fetch this, in a way that is like sort of MMO like, where it's just bland quest design. And the thing that sucks about it that makes me not want to do them is the fact that you'll be in one town and it'll be like, I need 10 iron, and so you have to go get iron, but the place you get that is like 2 or 3 loading screens away, and you have to like run from one side of the map to the other, and then you have to like run all the way back and go through the same like 2 or 3 loading screens to get there. It's just like, ugh, this is awful. So I kind of want to just like mainline the story, but I know for the final ending, I think you have to have all of the weapons. Like you have to have bought or found all of the weapons.
Mm.
So I think what I might do is I might go back to it and I might try to like just mainline the story and then see what that second playthrough is like, and then just like look up a let's play and watch the endings of the other endings of the game to see what's going on.
I've definitely done that before.
Yeah, it's intriguing. It's interesting, but I don't know that I necessarily love it. I'll say it does like its main story moments really, really well. Like there are boss fights in the game, and there are like main story beats that are really cool and really well done. It's just the side quests that really bog the experience down in a way that's off-putting, but for like every great thing it does, there's like a thing that's not so great about it. So it's another one to be kind of hot and cold about. But anyway, I've been playing that on PS4, and I don't think that you can transport save file at this.
I think you might be able to actually. I think if the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 are both online and on the same network, I think they can communicate with each other and like seamlessly transfer data over.
There was a part during the setup that was like, do you want to transfer all your stuff? And I was like, well, yes. And I think it transferred my accounts, but it like failed to transport all of my games and like save data and all that stuff. So I don't know why. I didn't actually read the error message because I was trying to play something, but yeah, I don't know. I need to look into that more because if I do play more of that game, it's like, do I want to just boot up my old PS4 to do it? Or do I want to find a way to like make it work on PS5?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very exciting. I was going to say before I got sidetracked talking about Nier, but it has sort of opened up like that whole thing where I'm like, oh, now like all PS4 games are like back on the menu, sort of, so to speak, because like it's backwards compatible. You can play everything on PS5 now, and not all, but like some games have been like enhanced for PS5. There's like updates, and that I want to like not ignore PS4 games anymore. But
yeah, I always meant to play that Spider-Man game, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, Miles Morales. There's that one. I feel like there was another one that I can't think of as well that I was like, I kind of wouldn't mind playing this, but it's like, do I play it on PS4 or wait and get it on PS5? But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a very interesting time because the other situation is I play most games on PC, but I don't have a 4K monitor. So it's like, I now have a console that is capable of outputting just as well, if not better, than my PC. But if it's a shooter, I'm still going to prefer it on PC because of mouse and keyboard. But I don't know. The options are there now, which is exciting.
The world is your oyster.
It is. Got all the oysters. So I do plan on playing Biomutant. I do plan on playing some Mass Effect. We can maybe do a video or talk about those. I know Final Fantasy, when is that? June? July?
I'm interested to see when you start to play Mass Effect. I'm interested to see how different Mass Effect 1 is, because I know they were going to redo some of the combat and change like some of the Mako stuff and whatnot.
Yeah. That'll be something to talk about. Hopefully, we can get another episode in next week, and I'll have some thoughts on that. So stay tuned for that. Also, do check out our YouTube channel because there are at least 2 videos that went up since the last time we recorded a podcast. So, yeah, check out Legend of Keepers. I love that game. I don't know why, but I love it so much, and I want more people to play it. So. Why don't you hit us with your parting wisdom?
Zach, I got an email from my energy company where I live, and I thought it was fake, but it was real. They were like, hey, we'll give you a rebate if you want to buy a smart thermostat of $99. And I was like, that's crazy. I'll try this out. And so I did that. And it was real. And so I bought a Google Nest thermostat for $6.
$6.
And I installed it. Yeah, it came the next day. I put it in, and that kicked off me being like, what else can I make smart in my house? So I bought a bunch of like smart light bulbs and some smart plugs.
I got a smart light bulb for my birthday.
Oh, really? What kind?
I forget. No, it's not
Philips
one of
Hue?
the. It's not. I don't think it's one of the Philips Hue ones. Maybe it is.
I got one of those new ones because like Philips Hue were okay, but they need a hub. Philips just started making a new brand that doesn't need a hub, which is great. I also got something to make my garage door smart that integrates with Amazon. So if Amazon delivers a package to me, they can just deliver it into my garage if they want to.
Oh, nice. So you're controlling your whole home from your phone now.
It's true, and with my voice. But I guess my parting wisdom is like check to see if your energy company has something on their website that will just like pay you to get a smart thermostat, because it seems like that's something that happens a lot everywhere, and you can just like get basically a free Google Nest.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I like the smart light bulb I have. I can like change the color of it from my phone. And if it's daytime, I might like more white light, but when it's like evening, it might be better to have like a more yellowish light. Or I can make it blue and have it match the lights coming from my PC.
Yeah, for Valentine's Day last year, maybe it was this year, I got Sarah, my girlfriend, a Menards has like train sets or like pieces of train sets that you can buy. And they had a fully operational Taco Bell that you could put into your train set that like lit up and stuff and has like a little ad for like a quesarito on it. And I connected that to a smart plug. So now at any time I can just tell Google to turn on the Taco Bell, and then the lights in the Taco Bell turn on.
And it understands Taco Bell and that you're not trying to order online.
Soon enough I will do that. But for now it just turns on and off the lights.
Now I want Taco Bell.
And that wraps it up for us.
We will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.